All right, Sam, we just had an insane weekend together. We got to talk about it.
I feel like I can rule the world. I know I could be what I want to. I put my all in it like no days off. On the road, let's travel.
We just lived in a house for a weekend with 25 other founder entrepreneur types. Probably 5 to 10 of them were billionaires. A bunch of others were close. And we didn't just like talk or hang out. We literally like slept under one roof, sat in saunas together, played basketball together, went to Walmart together a bunch of times.
My Airbnb had bunk beds, so we bunked bed together.
It's as close as two men can get. So we had an experience, and I have in front of me several sticky notes of golden lessons learned, and I phrased each of them. I don't know if you did this, but I phrased each of them to make it fun, because nobody wants to hear your vacation story. That's one of the great rules of storytelling, is just never tell a vacation story, because it's so fun for you, but they weren't there. Nobody cares. But I think we should tell the biggest lessons learned with the story that backs them up. So it's real, not just a generic lesson. And I phrased all of mine like it's Confucius, like, Bruce Lee whispered this into your ear.
Yeah, I dig that. And to give the background, basically, I think like 3 years ago, you tweeted out, I want to play basketball with interesting people. I think Mr. Beast like DM'd you and you're like, wait, is this real? You ended up phoning him and he was like, yeah, come to my place. I want to meet interesting people. The first year, it was like you and Ben organized it. It was like 19 of us in an Airbnb and we were like, what are we going to do? So we played basketball. The second year, you organized it a little bit more and you had like an itinerary. This year, you guys killed it. It was awesome. It was an amazing event.
I do like meeting interesting people when I go to conferences or events. I just hate conferences or events. Like I get a pit in my stomach when I have to go. And I know it's good for me. And I know in the end, I'll meet some cool people. I just hate the format. I hate the structure. So it was like, well, instead of just complaining about it, what's a structure I would like? It's like, well, I don't know. What if it was just doing the thing I love, was playing basketball with those people? We basically play ball all day and then we talk at night. And that was the core idea, is to use basketball as the icebreaker.
And you broke your knee in the first 2 hours.
Yeah. So this was an event where you could tear up your knee and be done in the first hour. And I still had a good time. That means it must have been a good event, because normally that's pretty brutal. I did have a little pitty party for myself, but I feel better now.
Are we allowed to say who was there?
Yeah, I think we could say some of the people that were there. Yeah, let's go for it.
So Mr. Beast, who everyone knows him as the guy on YouTube with hundreds of millions of subscribers. I think he's a paper billionaire. I think that's public.
Yeah, he's one of the youngest billionaires in the world. I think he's 26 years old and he's worth a few $1 billion. He's one of the most famous people also in the world, one of the most recognized entertainers in the world. And when you hang out with him, he's also one of the most intense, fun to be around. Just wants to play all in. Like somebody said this once about Elon. They go, he's playing life as if the simulation theory is true. Elon has a simulation theory. This might just be one of many simulations. And so he therefore just goes all in, because, okay, whatever. Let's make this the most entertaining version of that simulation. I think that's how Jimmy plays life too.
So we were with him. It was one of the founders of Airbnb, who on paper, according to Forbes, is like the 100th or 90th richest person in the world. It was another billionaire who was one of the first investors in Tesla and SpaceX. It was the founder of Reddit. It was Jesse Itzler, who's on the podcast. You, me, Al Doan, who runs like a quilting company that does 9 figures a year.
Tons of people. Anyways.
David Perel, Nick Huber. It was awesome. You want to start first?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, I got one for you. Here's one of the lessons I picked up. And this is about the business ideas that these guys were thinking about. So if you're out there and you're wondering kind of like, where's the opportunity? What should I be working on? Here's what I picked up from some of the most successful people in America. And it says, fish where the fish swim, not where the fishermen stand. Confucius, AKA me.
Did you just make that up?
You saw me writing these 5 minutes before we went live.
Well, I thought you had heard that. Did you hear that somewhere else?
There's a scratch out on it, right?
But did you get Chinese food last week and that was like a fortune cookie?
Dude, I've had my share of Kung Pao chicken. All right, let me just tell you some of the ideas that I heard from people who were in at this event. So you mentioned Jesse Itzler, and I think one of the public things that he's done is he got really into racing, like running endurance races. So he just followed his curiosity.
100-mile races.
100-mile races. He started doing 100-mile races. While he's doing 100-mile races, he notices that the runners, that are trying to do these amazing physical feats are drinking coconut water. And coconut water was a big part of that niche, super niche community. And he became a believer and spent time hunting down what he thought would be the best coconut water company. Ends up finding Zico Coconut Water, partners with them. And Zico now is a big success. They ended up selling, I think, to Coke, and they're in Whole Foods. They're it's one of the big coconut water brands. And he found it when he was small and just exploring these uncharted territories. So here's some other ones that I heard. There was somebody there who's making hundreds of millions of dollars a year selling board games. I never even had that on my bingo card. I didn't even know that was an option. I did not even know that you could do that. There was somebody there that was investing millions of dollars into women's sports. And not even just women's sports. Like, they're trying to do things now where you just buy a piece of a college program. I didn't even know you could do that. Like, that's for sale? What is that for sale? Where is this listed? It's
Dude,
not listed, right?
I went to a talk recently with this billionaire who owned like the Timberwolves, Mark Lazary or something, and he was talking about the Bucks, and he was talking about how he's trying to buy college. Do you buy the rights?
They're going to like the University of Alabama or whatever, and they're just like, cool, we'll give you $500 million for the Alabama sports program, and we want to own 51%.
But is
that's
it
what
like,
they're trying to do.
Do they buy the future earnings? Is that what it is?
They're basically, I think what's going to happen is, again, it's uncharted territory. You don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but I think the short version is the college will spin out the program, their athletics program, as its own business entity. They'll sell equity in it. They'll use that equity to finance all of their sports, like women's lacrosse, like things that aren't going to be the big revenue generators. So they use it to fund all their programs and maybe even school stuff. And then the costs now are borne by the private equity person. But now it's this asset that didn't even exist before. Like, these college programs can make a lot of money, media rights and all this stuff, but they weren't even for sale. Somebody was doing that. There was somebody there that was like, 7 years ago, I just got really obsessed with water. I'm like, yeah, me too. I thought my whole life. And he's like, no. Like, I got really obsessed. Like, do you know what kind of water you're drinking? And I was like, no. Like, is this bad with microplastics? What's going on? And he was just like, yeah, like, I got obsessed. And so I just started studying, where's the cleanest water from? Where's the healthiest water from? And I realized that water was going to become like oil, that people were going to more and more be drinking not tap water, but they're going to want basically bottled water, canned water, things like that. And that water is going to have to come from somewhere. And I wanted to find the best sources of water. And so I went to West Virginia and I bought this aquifer, this spring. I bought this giant water source.
What?
And he was like, you see that drink you're drinking right there? It's like some brand, like popular brand. And he's like, that's our water. And they use our water. So that's good water. And I was like, what? This was just a side quest that he went on. And again, it was curiosity driven.
Was this one of the billionaires?
Yeah, basically. I mean, not billionaire, but yeah, like whatever, close enough.
Hobby.
There's a guy there, Al, who started a quilting company with his mom, a Missouri Star Quilt Company, and they sell fabrics for people who want to make quilts. His co-founder is his mom.
I have a planned vacation so he owns this thing. The company is called Missouri Quilting Company, and he basically he did a podcast 3 years ago with us where he explained where he bought a town.
Hamilton.
Is it Hamilton, Missouri? He bought like an 1,800 person town where they own every building, and they're building the Disneyland for quilting.
Dude, just the thought of that. So first to go into quilting, smart guy, like, could have done any business, goes into quilting.
It's like, what are you doing, man? You're throwing it all the way on quilting?
Does a business with his mom, right? Like, again, independent thinking, not just following the herd. So then starts the business. His mom does the YouTube channel. He does the business side of it. Business keeps growing. And then it's like, you know what we could do? We could create the Disneyland for quilting. And he literally goes and buys a town. Again, is that for sale? Can you do that? How do you do that? And that just kept happening, which was like people who were playing games that didn't even seem popular. Another lesson there was a person there who had sold a piece of their company to Chernin. And Chernin is now kind of known. I first heard about it maybe like 10 years ago. And Chernin is this really interesting.
They're most famous for
PCG.
The Peter Chernin was the CEO of Fox, so he's like a big swinging dick. He's been a baller for years, but they're most famous amongst like normal people because they bought Barstool when it was nothing and helped make it something.
Correct. And they just had this, again, independent thinking where they were like, hey, I think these things that other people see as small kind of toys, things that aren't going to make a lot of money, media brands, blogs, YouTube channels, I think these things are going to be big. I think basically, and they had this thesis, which was content to commerce. It's like, I think if you're kicking ass at content, you're going to be able to, instead of just making your money through ad revenue and sponsorships, you're going to be able to sell stuff to those people. And they have this content to commerce thesis, and they go and they buy Barstool content, and ends up being this juggernaut with commerce. They bought Exploding Kittens, and they bought Meat Eater, and they bought Surfline, all these niche content brands. We had a guy on the pod, the Plant Daddy.
I met with them a couple times. There was like early discussions. Well, 3 meetings with that I had with the Hustle, and I was like, "What the fuck do you guys know?" Didn't get that one right. Turns out they know a lot. They know a lot.
Did he just like slide a P&L across the table and he's like, "I'll leave you 3 minutes alone with
they
this."
told me this story and I was like, "You're full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're talking about my company, right?" It's like, but they were right. I think what the premise was correct. But I didn't have that confidence that we're talking about now.
And dude, they made a fortune because the market overlooked these brands. These brands were not valued like high-flying tech companies, but they became, multi-hundred million, billion-dollar brands. I really admire what TCG did because
they're the best.
There's so many investors that all love to sound like they're smart and contrarian, and they're all just, "What's your thesis?" AI, AI is going to be the future of everything, right? It's like, okay, you're not wrong in that, but like, there's something really impressive about somebody who looked at just like this magazine or this blog or this YouTube channel. They did it with
Doug DeMoro, who was on our pod. We've had a bunch. We've actually probably had 3 or 4 people who sold their company on the pod to those guys.
Right. And they've been right. And they've been right in a very, very big way. So I'm very impressed by them. So to me, that's the principle. Fish where the fish swim. So fish where the real opportunity is, not where the fishermen are standing, not where all the entrepreneurs are huddled up. This fortune cookie says, "Man does not sell chocolate. He must become chocolate." Okay, so what does this mean? 3 years ago, when we did the first version of this event, Jimmy, aka Mr. Beast, had launched his chocolate brand, Feastables. And it was like, okay, selling chocolate to little kids. I had the opportunity to invest. I think at a $40 million valuation was like the Series A. And I passed.
In like the Beast Empire or chocolate?
No, in Feastables itself. So kind of thought about it. I was like, I don't really get it. I didn't really know much about the chocolate industry. I thought his involvement was going to be like this. Normal influencer brand is, I'm doing my thing. I create my content. Oh, my manager hands me this. Hey, buy this. Smile. Ding.
Yeah.
Put it down. Move on with life. So I thought he's just going to influence it. I thought he's just going to hold it up and buy it. What I didn't realize is that this guy was going to go so deep into the world of chocolate and end up knowing everything about chocolate and end up running this company like an absolute maniac founder. If I had known that, if I had known he was going to bring his full intensity at this, I probably would have thought about it differently. I thought he was just going to hold up the chocolate bar and see how many people clicked the link. I was dead wrong. So I want to tell a quick story. You were there for one of the Walmart runs, right?
No, but I have a bunch of Walmart stories.
So we're sitting there, we're about to record. He walks in, he's like, "Hey, before we do this, do you guys want to go to Walmart?" Which I realized like at the time sounded like a sort of a strange request. Nobody's ever asked me on a mandate to Walmart. We walk in and he takes us to the chocolate aisle and basically gives a like 10-minute masterclass on the chocolate industry right there in the aisle. And while he's doing it, he's not just like explaining like, well, this is how it works. This is how we do. This is our revenues. This is whatever. He's also simultaneously restocking the entire aisle. Like he pulled the cartons up to the front because they were like 3 inches recessed. They were pushed back too far. Some of the bars had fallen over. They were crooked. He straightens every single one of them out. He puts the right flavors in the right spots. If a bar was crinkly or broken, he'd throw it to his chief of staff. Like, "Hey, can you buy this? I want to have we should only have good bars. No broken bars up front." And he would basically restock the thing, but his hands were moving at a speed which showed you this is not the first time this guy's done this. So he restocks it. And one of the popular flavors was out. And so he takes out his phone and he's like, "Oh, I have a badge." And so he just badges into the back of Walmart and goes and gets the box himself and restocks it. And I was like, "Does any vendor get to do that?" And he was like, "No, not exactly. But they know I just do this. I care. I really care." And it kind of 2 things stood out to me. The first was obvious, which was when high intensity, obsessive people want to win, they do the same things that the rest of us do with the knob dialed up to 12. Like they just take the knob and they just crank it past even where you think it could go. And for example, he was like, I think you were there. He was telling the story about like missing a flight or something like this.
He like told a story about how apparently he flew to DC and had a connecting flight to North Carolina or something, wherever he lived. And he was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm driving from DC to Greenville, North Carolina. It's normally like, I don't know, a 3-hour drive or something, but I noticed that there's 14 Walmarts in between on that route. I'm going to stop at every single one of them to learn. And it turned like a 3-hour drive into like, you know, a 20-hour drive. And he told me at one point, he goes, I have scanned, I guess he's got some app where you scan things in Walmart and it teaches you about each SKU. He said he scanned every single product in Walmart. And I don't know if he was like, if someone said, oh no, I've scanned all of them, you'd be like, oh, so it's like saying it's 1,000 degrees outside. You're just exaggerating. Right. But with him, I was like, oh, I bet you literally have scanned every single one of them.
In the podcast we did, he was like, yeah, like, you know, we want to do a thing where you buy every item in Walmart for somebody in a video. And he's like, you know, but it's $16.2 million. It's like, he knew the actual cost of the total inventory. If you bought one of everything in Walmart, like what it cost. I forgot what the number was. But I don't want to make this just a Jimmy Love Fest, because there was another guy who was a top seller in Target.
Yeah, man. I heard him nerding out. It was wild.
He took us to this shelf and he was like, this shelf right here. He's giving us a tour of Target, and it shows you how the store works. He's like, this shelf right here is the most profitable shelf in Target, is the highest profit per square inch, which is how Target measures, you know, success. And he's giving us this Target masterclass. And we were like, are you also in Walmart? He's like, yeah, we're in Walmart, but we're not doing so well. And I asked him, what's exciting for you coming up? And this guy runs a $1 billion plus company. I assumed he was just going to say, I've got some board meetings to line up. I'm taking the family to Aspen. And he goes, actually, I'm working the next 3 weeks as a Walmart associate. I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to be, he goes, our sales in Walmart are not the same as in Target. And I've been trying to figure out why. What I found remarkable is that you expect the people who are the most busy, the most accomplished, the most high net worth to be above these tasks. Jimmy restocking the SKUs himself. This other guy going to be a Walmart associate for 3 weeks. You know, they don't have to do any of this, but they're going to do it anyways. They're not just doing it now that they're successful. That's how they got here. And so that was the first really big takeaway from this whole thing, was the intensity with which certain people play the game of business and how that leads to success.
That guy who you're referring to was the quietest person there, or one of. And there was a point where I was hanging out with him. He goes, can I get your guys' opinion? You know, I'm thinking about potentially like making some type of business move, which would value us at this valuation. And we were like, what valuation? And it was like in the billions. And we were like, do you know who we are? Why are you asking us this question? What are you talking about, man? Like I don't know who you asked this question to, but not like, he was the most like humble person there. And he was crazy successful. It was pretty wild, that guy who you're talking about. All right, I have one. Confidence beats IQ. So, you know, there are a lot of like really successful people out there. Like when I read Warren Buffett's biography, he does the opposite, where he is like, oh, you know, I'm just this guy. And it's like, dude, you're a bona fide.
Aw shucks, downplaying them.
Yeah, it's like, IQ. You're a baby genius. Like he was like, when he was like 4, he was like making 10 grand a month selling Pepsi. But in general, the group of people who we had there were some people for sure who are genius. I think Jimmy is one of them, actually. I think when you talk to him, you know, he's like brilliant. And like Mario from Oscar was one of them. Mario co-founded a company called Oscar, which is a health insurance company, which is one of the hardest things ever to do. It's worth publicly traded $4 billion. So he's like the man, and he doesn't even speak English, or he does. That's a second language. So like, he's from Germany. So imagine
genius,
dude. Imagine going to Germany and revolutionizing the German healthcare market. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty wild.
Extra degree of difficulty.
Yeah,
like just go to someone else's motherland and fix their shit.
Yeah, which is wild. But you know, he was a genius. But in general, dude, the wealthiest people there, I noticed, were not even close to the smartest. And here's an example. One of the billionaire guys was there. He goes, man, AI is just going to change the world. You guys, I don't think you guys get it. Like, I use it every day. And I was like, how do you use it? He goes, I could show you right now. And he pulls out his phone and he talks to ChatGPT and he goes, hey, ChatGPT, you know, I have a question. And he like starts like reading a question to it. And then he's like, now watch how amazing it is. And he like, it repeats the answer. And I'm like, oh, so you're saying that you just use ChatGPT like all the time? Like, yeah. And I was like, well, like, have you like trained it? He goes, You could trade it? Like he didn't know that you could do these things. And this particular guy ran a company doing billions a year in revenue. I guess what I mean is like this, the percentage of intelligence greater than me or you or someone else there versus impact or net worth was not like that. It wasn't
totally agree with that, which is that when you sit in a room like this, two things happen. One, you just get to sample, like it's Costco and it's noon at Costco, and you're just getting to sample different lifestyle. Oh, what do you do? Oh, wow, you seem kind of stressed out. Gotcha. Like not interested in going down that aisle.
Yeah.
Hey, you seem like you're having a lot of fun. What do you do? How do you think about this? You got kids too. How are you doing both? Right. And you get to sample people's lifestyle when you hang out with them like this for 48 hours straight. On top of that, you also get to do the measuring stick thing, which kind of sucks because you're measuring yourself against like some of the most creative, successful, ambitious people in the world. But a big part of it is you're trying to figure out the diff, right? It's like those little children's games. Is two pictures. What's the difference between these two pictures? And on one side is me, and the other side is them. And I'm always looking at what's the difference. And sometimes if it's like Arie or whatever, it's like, oh, cool. Like his brain has an extra library in it. There's an extra wing that somebody donated to that brain. All right, cool. Like I can live with that. I can sleep easy. But there were other people where it was like, oh, it just seems like they didn't limit themselves.
That's what I mean.
Like they just kind of went for it, or their courage was just on a little bit higher supply than mine. Yeah. And you're right that when you look at the diff, very, very rarely was the diff, these people are smarter than me, or they had some advantages I didn't have coming up. Right. It's like, in fact, it was usually the opposite. It's like, damn, they had this huge chip on their shoulder because their dad wasn't around. And because of this happened, and they were dyslexic. There's a bunch of people over there that were dyslexic.
Dude, I wish I was dyslexic.
Yeah, I met all these guys. Autistic was the goal. It's dyslexic.
Dude, every dyslexic guy there somehow was a good freestyle rapper. Did you notice that?
Like not only rich, but also cool in a group of men huddled around together, right? Like,
yeah, I wish I was charismatic like a dyslexic guy. Like it's crazy. It's like if you're blind, you're a good like piano player, and if you're dyslexic, you're like the most charismatic guy on earth.
Yeah, exactly. I have a related point, which is I just wrote these two words. I don't know if you can read this.
I am. So my trainer has a clothing brand that he created. It's called Super Conscious Co. So one of the shirts he gave me from Super Conscious Co, my favorite shirt. It just on the side, it just says, I am. And then it's underneath it says, the two most important words in the English language for whatever comes after them will define your life. If you think you are destined for greatness, if you think you belong at that table, you'll make different decisions along the way. And then it becomes sort of self-fulfilling, right? You'll work at a different speed. You'll take different risks. You will go for it in a different way. Several conversations I had at this event where I realized, damn, a lot of the downstream decisions start with the little voice in your head, the little director of your movie who's deciding like, what kind of movie is this? Is this like an indie budget? Is this a tragedy? Is this a comedy? Are you a joke? Or is this a hero? Is this a Marvel movie? Are you the hero saving the world? Right. And like, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but you get to decide what that little voice in your head is going to tell you. Because the director says, what happens in the story, where you stand, what you say, all of those things. And I thought, damn, a lot of what I'm seeing in how people are living their lives and what they're doing differently comes from the little voice in their head just has a different script in mind for what their life is all about, the I am statement. Or like, here's a small example. How about Jesse bringing his sauna? Jesse Itzler brought his sauna and he had two guys and I was like, what do you guys do? He's like, oh, we bring these saunas. Like whenever he wants to go.
Keep the sauna hot.
Yeah. He's like, whenever when he wants to go to like a conference or something, like this sauna is like a really cool way to like create a bonding experience, which it was, by the way, just chilling in the sauna. It was freaking awesome. And I was like, wait, Jesse, you got these two guys whose just like job is to like trail around this like sauna, like across the country to bring to events. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard of. He's like, yeah, isn't it great? We get to hang in the sauna. I was like, yes. And that's like another example of like intensity, but like on a more relatable scale.
Right.
All right. I have one. You could take your billions and shove it up your ass.
Is that Seneca?
Put that on one of those inspirational posters that you see in your office. There is this one guy who was one of the first investors in a variety of Elon companies. And presumably a billionaire, like, investing in Tesla at a $60 million valuation or $100 million valuation. I don't know what that is. That like 100,000 times? So something like that.
Yeah, we don't do public math.
Yeah, like a lot.
It's now a $1 trillion company.
Yeah, okay, so it's a big deal. There was this funny story where this guy was telling a story about working really hard, and like he was grinding, and his kid was sick, and he's like, I had to take a week off to like go and help my kid, and that was a big deal because I was working so hard. And then this other guy came and he goes, you know how you guys are all talking about working 16 hours a day on your companies? Right now, I'm doing that as well, but my company is my family, and I have retired from business, and I work 16 hours a day as the CEO of my family. And when he said that, I was like, this is awesome. I imagine he was exaggerating a little bit, because I imagine he still does some type of deal making or something like that. I don't know him well enough to know, but I thought it was so cool when he said that. And I thought, like, you have it figured out. Same with Jesse Itzler. These two guys who I can't say the first guy's name, but Jesse also had the same energy where I was like, this is the way. And this is all personal preference. Jimmy wanted to be Elon, cool, go do that. But when I heard this other way of talking, I was like, after, this is easy to say because everyone was wealthy, but after some number, I don't know what that number is, 10, 20, 30, some millions of numbers, a lot of it really matters. And just like having a good time with your family is something I really admired. And I thought it was really cool that guy said that. And it made me realize that I was getting sucked into this vortex of like money, and achievement, whatever. But when I saw these guys talk and their energy, I was more drawn to that than anyone else there. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I think when I go to events like this, my instinct is to figure out, how do you win? How do you win? How do you win? What tactics, what techniques, what strategies, what approaches work? And instead, the better question almost every single time is, what game are you even playing? And picking the right game matters way more than figuring out how to win the wrong game.
Dude, there was people there who were like mini Genghis Khans, where it's like they want to dominate. Like they get joy out of war and domination.
They want to build cities. They want to dominate industries. They want to do that. That's one game you could play. And by the way, no judgment. Great. Do whatever game you want to play. I just want to know what the games are so I can pick. And then other people were like, I want to be CEO of my family full time. And I'm like, I've done a 4-hour stretch with my kids. Like, I think I'm more of a 45 minutes at a time, 4 times a day. That's my ideal. So, okay, I'm not going to be CEO of my family because I would actually be miserable if I was a full-time stay-at-home dad personally. But okay, that's a game I could play. Then I talked to Jesse and I was like, Jesse, what do you do? Like, what do you do every day now? I'm training for races and I'm coaching my kids' sports things. I do public speaking because I feel like it keeps me sharp and I get excited to get up on stage and say some shit that lights people up. He's like, I'm selling calendars. He's like, it's not going to, he's like, I'm not making a fortune. Like these guys, they'll do that in a day or a week, or we'll do in a year. But I don't know. I like doing it. I'm doing what I want to be doing. And he was very at ease with that. He's at peace with that. And I think obviously some of that comes from maturity, but a lot of it comes from, it's easy to be at peace when you're actually doing the thing that puts you at peace, when you're doing the thing you like. And if you're kind of, I don't know, like masquerading around trying to just do what you think you should be doing, I think that becomes very exhausting. And so I'm with you that figuring out what game to play seems like the much more important question at every phase of your life. And the game I wanted to play in my 20s is different than the one I'm playing currently in my 30s. It's probably gonna be different than what I play in my 40s and 50s. And I just got to kind of reinvent myself.
Dude, there was one guy there who said he worked with Elon, and apparently he had to do a meeting or something with Elon, and like the secretary told him like, all right, you're going to do this meeting, but I need you to know that his companies make $20 million every 1 hour. So this better be a $20 million meeting.
I heard a similar thing from a guy who worked with him, that he was like, Elon would have a meeting, but there would be like 40 or 50 people in the meeting. And the reason why was not because that makes for a more effective meeting, but because it was like, if the person who we need to talk to is not in this room, it's such a colossal waste of his time that we'll just fly everybody here and we're going to have this, 45-minute block. And that way everybody's here because all of your time collectively is not worth as much as his hour. Which is like such an absurd.
Is that like it's hard to fathom this. Let me tell you a really quick one, which is hard work amongst this group, not universal. So there was one guy, you weren't there. You were, Shaan like busted his knee in the second hour or something like that and had to stay at home for like this one whole session. And there was this guy there who was explaining how hard he grinds. And then there was this other guy who was one of the more successful guys there. He was like, I work like 20 hours a week. He's like, once my companies got to be like some type of like predictable, stable, like, all right, if we just keep doing this for 10 years, we're going to grow 50% a year, hopefully, like it's gonna, whatever. He was like, I started working 20 hours a week. And he's like, I wouldn't work Fridays. And it was really interesting to see that not everyone worked hard. Did you get that sense from people?
The thing I pulled from it was some people were basically operating like monopolies and other people were not. Meaning there were some people playing a game where the competition is so vicious. Like, you know, like an easy example is YouTube. If you stop uploading, the game stops, the music stops.
There's like, literally a million other businesses in that same exact space doing the same exact thing who are ready to eat your lunch.
And every idea you put out there in a video, somebody else is going to copy. And a lot of people do copy the exact videos that he does and the exact script. It's all public information. It's all super competitive. There's no gatekeeping. And then there's other people who were like, yeah, all we had to do was get to this. Like, we just had to get this shelf space. Like, there was one guy who was showing us a shelf at Target. And he was like, basically 7 years of the company was just dedicated, was just like hard work dedicated to getting on the shelf. But once you're on the shelf, it's almost impossible for anybody else to get on the shelf. All we have to do now is stay on the shelf. By the way, this shelf right here, like this little rack you're looking at, this is $300 million a year. And you're just looking at it, you're like, oh, damn. Like, wow, one shelf in Walmart, one shelf in Target is like the entire revenue streams of like these online only companies. But you're extremely defensible compared to other businesses where the moment you take a break, you have the entire internet competing with you on that same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That was an interesting thing. Do you have,
I have a quick one. Health is wealth. In a room full of very wealthy people, how many fancy clothes did you see? How many fancy watches did you see? How many fancy cars did you hear people bragging about?
Everyone but Joe Gebbia looked schleppy. Joe Gebbia looked great, even in like
fantastic style.
Even in workout gear. He was wearing some nice shit.
Dude, he looks like he should be in like a Taylor Sheridan show. Like if he made an appearance on Landman, I wouldn't even blink.
Everyone besides him, dude. Do you know he's on the board of Tesla? I didn't know that either. Like he does a lot of interesting stuff. Everyone besides him looked like we were like at a slumber party.
Well, we were also.
Yeah, but during the day.
Yeah, that should be the title list. Slumber Party with Billionaires. So, but the health is wealth thing was very real. There was a lot of flexing on stuff you're doing for your health, what you're eating and not eating, how much, who's your doctor, what's your protocol.
But dude, no one was like that jacked or ripped or anything, were they? Other than Joe.
Yeah, I thought people were in pretty good shape. If you go to other industries, kind of like tech, internet, not our bubble, right? But like go to like a conference with the wealthiest people in finance or oil or whatever, like pick any industry. Their body shape looks a lot different.
No, everyone,
it looks way different.
They looked like a healthy 55-year-old.
Dude, basically our day was go play basketball for 3 hours, like an intense basketball game, come home, go into a 250-degree sauna. Then when you're tired of the sauna, go into this pond that was like freezing cold in North Carolina and go plunge for 3 minutes. Then go back into the sauna, then go back into the plunge. Then there's like a masseuse doing body work and myofascial release for you. Then you're eating and everybody's eating clean. Every single person's eating clean while we're there, right? Like, it's like, dude, that was the norm. Like, that is not normal. You know, if you were drinking something out of a plastic bottle, it's like basically doing heroin at this event.
Dude, me and Nick Huber got Taco Bell at midnight. We wanted
secrecy.
Yeah, like we didn't want to tell anyone.
Secrecy. Dude, I took like a Feastable bar in my, I hid it in my hoodie and it crutched over to my bedroom and ate it like in shame over there because what am I going to do? Sit here and eat a chocolate bar in front of these men? Dude, Hayes is 52 years old and ripped.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, great. This guy is, on the Forbes, self-made billionaires list and also just ripped for fun as a side quest.
Dude, yeah. I mean, he looked great. And then
Jesse's 56 and runs 100-mile races. How many 50-year-olds are ripped and run 100-mile races? Nobody does that shit, especially successful guys.
Jimmy wanted to do like a taste test. He had everyone like gather around to do a taste test of like Hershey's versus his stuff. And like I like pretended like, oh, wow, Jimmy, your stuff is great. I've never had this before. But like at every Airbnb in the kitchen, did you see this? At every Airbnb, it was like literally 100 candy bars. And I literally had 2,000 calories per night of his candy. I ate so much of it. I could tell you about all of it. Like I didn't need a taste test. I could tell, I'm already an expert on, I could tell you about all the flavors, the peanut butter ones, the dark chocolate ones.
He's like, you don't have to lick the wrapper for the taste test. It's like, no, this is just how I'm thorough.
Like I'm like, Jimmy, like I already know. Like I've eaten all of them, and I had M&Ms and Hershey bars on the plane on the way here. Like I could tell you about all of them.
The hilarious thing is when he's like hanging out with like the upper echelon of the group, he's just like, just try a piece of this one. You don't have to eat the whole thing, but like, you know, it's more for younger people, but like whatever.
That's what he goes, it's for kids.
It's for kids. And he's like, he'll give you like the dark chocolate flavor.
Yeah, I was
and
like,
I'm
dude,
sitting there with like cookies and cream all over my face, and I'm like, I like it. I like the cookies and cream one.
Yeah. It's like my daughter just learned
my favorite, Jimmy. You have more of this one?
Yeah, my daughter just learned how to say more, but I feel like this more. More.
Momo, this one.
Yeah, I was doing this all the time. More.
Can I give you some of the negative ones?
How about the guy who goes, at that point, I was broke. I think I only had like $20 million.
Yeah, he's telling some story. Well, there was a hilarious conversation about prenups, which is, you know, nothing more can be said except for there was an incredible conversation about prenups.
I was about to go outside. Me and someone else were going to go outside of the sauna, and someone said, hey, can I ask you guys about prenup? And we were like, let's just sit right here. I just want to listen. Let's just listen.
It was one of the most, that like next 3 hours was one of the most entertaining 3 hours of my life. Like I don't think I've laughed that hard in 5-10 years. Like I was literally like belly laugh crying.
Some shocking setups. People billionaires are not like you and me. If you're listening to this, billionaires exist and they're not like you. They're not like you.
I would say is the Midwit meme was in full effect. I'll give you one example. So the way we played our basketball tournament was 3 teams. And we played, and then it was supposed to be the top 2 teams play for the finals. But all the teams finished the same record. We all had 1 win, 1 loss after everybody played each other. So it's like, okay, well, which 2 teams advanced to the finals? And so but everybody's getting tired, so I had to make something up. So I was like, all right, we're gonna do a penalty kick shootout. So what's the most exciting, thing in sports is in hockey or soccer where they do the shootout. And it's not gonna take up a bunch of energy because like we're old guys and people are getting hurt. We can't play an extra game to figure out who's gonna go. So we said, all right, everybody step up to pick each team pick 5 guys. They're going to shoot a free throw. And then the team that makes the least, like pressure's on, everybody's watching you. So it was interesting. One team, my team was like, this is a dictatorship. Like y'all are the 5 best. To the other guys, they're better than you. These 5 are shooting.
Who was the dictator?
Well, I was a dictator. I didn't even think there was another way. I was like, of course, we're just going to pick our 5 best and do this. Like, honestly, I didn't even consider another method. And I was the coach of my team because I had gotten injured. I'm on crutches, so I was like doing that. The second team did it merit-based. And the third was like kind of like a volunteer voting system or whatever. And in the merit-based thing, a funny thing that happened was one of the guys who's probably less good at basketball overall made it in the practice shot. And one of the guys who was one of their better players on the team just happened to miss. So I was like, damn, are y'all really going to not have one of your best players shoot and have this other guy shoot? I was just watching. I'm like, I just want to see what happens here. I want to see what happens with the egos. I just need to know. I need to see this. The guy was like, you sure? You want to do it? He's like, no, you should do it. You made it. If you want to, I'll do it. And then the guy's like, no, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm going to do it. He's like, okay, go ahead and do it. So the guy steps up and he shoots and he makes it. The guy who's probably like, one of the weaker basketball players makes it, clutched it up, and has this awesome moment, and his team advances to the finals. And I feel so happy for this guy, and I'm like, that was amazing. I'm glad that they kind of honored
Rudy
it.
moment.
He had his Rudy moment. He honored it. He made it. Good for him. That was awesome. Under pressure. I wanted everybody to have like golden moments during the event. But then after the finals, and their team goes on, wins the finals, happy. They're holding the trophy. It's all good. Afterwards, we're all like packing up to leave, and he's like, he goes up to that guy, the other guy who sat out. He's like, hey, can you and me go shoot free throws? I want to know if that was the correct like EV decision statistically. And the guy's like, no, man, you already made it. Like you already made it. We already won. Like you're good, dude. You did it. He's like, no, I need to know. I need to know. And he's like, no, like, it's like, honestly, it's done. I'm glad you did it. You made it. He's like, I need to know. And he's like, all right. So they go and they shoot. And of course, the guy who's played basketball his whole life makes more of the free throws with the larger sample size. And then the other guy was like, kind of head down for like, he was kind of bummed out about it for a second. And I was like, what an intelligently stupid thing to do, right? Like, he wanted to know, like, was this a positive EV decision? Was this statistically the correct move?
Dude, what does EV mean?
Expected value. It's like if you're playing poker, you bet your chips, and even if you lose, you're still happy because you made the right decision, even if the result didn't pan out.
That's so funny.
There's chances. And so I was like, way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And there was so many of these little moments where, like, there's this guy there who's like, he's a total catch. He's like smart, he's good looking, he's ripped, he's successful, all these things. And I just thought a guy like this could walk into a coffee shop and like the cute barista would want him to talk to her. I've always wanted to be that guy. You know, like, this guy could have been that guy. It could be so easy for him to just meet someone amazing. And instead, you want to describe, like...
So, all right. I think what he did was, he built a program that scraped LinkedIn.
He starts with the desired result. He's like, I want a beautiful, intelligent, successful woman or something like that. I wasn't there for the whole thing.
Someone who fit his like heritage.
And so he was like, cool. So he built an AI bot to crawl LinkedIn to then scrape all the like successful, beautiful, like trained on images of women that he thought were beautiful.
Like every woman who was like of a certain like look in New York, who was between, 22 and 30 or whatever. He had like a database. He had binders of women.
Yeah, we had binders full of women. It was hilarious. And then he had this like whole system for how we could reach out to them with like, it was amazing. I don't want to go into all the details, dude, but like.
He had a dedicated iPhone there. He goes, this is my iPhone. And he goes, I have 2 full-time engineers who have built this program that auto DMs them this particular DM on Instagram. Let me send her a voice note. I go, you send her voice notes? He goes, I have found that voice notes convert better. And like he like showed me the voice note.
As he told this whole system, it's like, what's that thing called, the Rorschach test or whatever, where you see the blot and it's like you either see like, a killer or an angel or whatever. It was like, some people were like, this is the most impressive thing I've ever seen. And then some people, like the married guys who are like, 40s and 50s, were like, brother, you're it's too much. You're doing too much here. You got to just see a cute girl and go talk to her. It's okay. Let it roll organically, baby. It's going to work better that way. And I just thought it was hilarious. I'm really late. I got to go. I'm supposed to be speaking at something right now. I got a jet. I just realized I'm way over.
That's it. That's the pod.
I feel like I can rule the world. I know I could be what I want to. I put my all in it like no days off. On the road, let's travel, never looking back.